Hey, I'm Jay. Welcome to smarthelping.com. We got a nice dashboard template for you here. This is built for general contractors, anybody that has quotes and then needs to track their margins. I'll show you the dashboards real quick before we get into it. So this is the dashboard in the Excel version. There's also a dashboard here's a dashboard in the Google Sheet version. Okay, let me get back to Excel. So real quick, so how you start, I've got directions here, but essentially you start with the validation tab, enter the types of jobs you're doing up to 4. These will be calculated. There's analysis done on these fields. Also, you can have up to a second job category. For example, let's say you have residential, and then your job type 2 might be pools, patios, home remodel, specialized industrial, could be demolition, etc. So you can set up to 2 job types or a type and a subtype. Once you set those up, and again, you don't have to have a job type 2, it's optional. But once you set these up, you go to your database. Now, when you first get into this, simply highlight columns A to L. Do not overwrite column M through P. These are calculations. And you just highlight those, right click, hit clear content, and then you can start entering your data. Now, as you enter the data, it is conditional formatted based on the job type 1. Whatever you pick here is going to do a different color, and that'll show you, make it a little bit easier to see what jobs if you're trying to look for a specific one here. So you just enter the date, the job ID, the job type here, and again, this dropdown will update if you update the validation tab, job type 2. And so here's where we get into it. So the main purpose of the whole dashboard is to look at how are your margins and how are your quotes comparing to your actual finished job stats. So are your quoted margins okay? Are your actual margins okay? What's the variance? You can set a target, and the dashboard has got some conditional formatting to show you if you're beating those targets or not. And that's the main goal. So it's high level. Whenever you complete a job, you just enter it in here and enter the high level details. So you could do the price that was originally quoted, the expected costs, and then you can put in the actual price you ended up charging in the end, and the actual cost you ended up happening. There's also 3 metrics here to look for accidents. That'll be on the dashboard. A simple yes or no here. Employee satisfaction, yes or no, and customer satisfaction, yes or no. Now, column I and K are the most important, but it's also, if you want to track how your employees are feeling, this is also a good one to have. And then you've got notes here. Now, so we go to the dashboard. So it's pretty simple. You can put any start and end date here, and all this data updates. For example, let's see if I change this to April 30th instead of July. You see all the data is updated, and it'll show you all the data between these 2 dates. You can also set target gross profit margins, dollar amount, target gross profit and target gross profit margins. And then based on these 2 targets, you will see the percentage of jobs that reach the gross profit dollar target and the gross profit margin target here. With these gauges, you also see the data for that right here. So this is showing the quotes that met the target, the quoted margins that met the target, the actual jobs that met the target in gross profit dollars, and the actual gross profit margin of the jobs, and how many jobs were reaching these 2 targets. So this data here drives your 2 gauges, speedometers. You've also got a high level look up here showing you in this period how many jobs were completed, how many jobs were completed by type and the percentage. You've got the total gross profit earned in the period for each type here, and then the total across all the jobs. And then you've got the average actual gross profit per job. So in this case, we've got 2 institutional and commercial jobs. Total gross profit was $950, and then the average per job was $475. Specialized industrial, average per job was $205,000. So this average you're trying to set a target for each job here, and then this is showing you what you actually had across all jobs and then by subtype 1. You've also got the average gross profit per job type in a chart here, which is taking this data. The job margin analysis. So this is nice. You can see here, what was your average quote price per job? What was your actual price per job? What's the difference in variance? So in this case, we are actually charging about 15% higher than the quote. And what this one thing this does is just tell you how well are you quoting and how are your actuals comparing to the quote. And again, this could be for a construction company. It could be for any company that where you involves essentially doing a quote for a job and then completing the job. So it's not just construction. It could be general contractor, but the text here is for construction, and you could always change that. Then you've got your average expected costs, actual costs, and the variance there. So in this case, we're saying that our actual costs are $400,000 higher on average per job than our quote. So our estimations are out by a variance of 210%. So that's a big variance there. Then here we've got conditional formatting that shows you if your average gross profit on the quoted jobs and the actual gross profit, and it's going to be green if it's meeting this target. So you can see if I put this up to 400,000, only one's going to be green, and one that's the quote. So here my quoted gross profit is meeting the target, but my actual is not. So that's a variance of negative 45% under. So my quoted profits are looking good, but when it actually comes down to what happened, I'm doing about half of what I need to be doing. Here, this is the same deal, but it's doing average gross profit per job and then total gross profit of all jobs in the period. And that will also be measured against this target gross profit. And then you've got average gross profit actual and total gross profit actual of all jobs. So this 37% is essentially looking at this gross profit against this, this gross profit here, total gross profit in the period divided by the total revenue in the period, which is down here. But that's what this number is doing, and this number is doing for quotes. This is actually doing it on a per job, so this is not weighting the amount. So it's saying, if one job was 30% margin, one job was 80%, one job was 50%. It doesn't matter how big each of those jobs were. This is just doing the average of the percentages for here and this one. What else? We got average gross profit per job subtype 2. So here we're breaking it down into the 10 other categories and showing it, and that's this data here. And we can see the total, which is obviously going to match this gross profit number. These are actuals, just showing you how you're doing if you want to see a more granular slice if you have this subtype 2 slotted in. You've also got a pie chart here. Let me update this so we have a couple different items in here. Okay, there we go. So you can see, do we not have any? Oh, and let me extend this back to July. There we go. Okay, so our pie chart is showing you of the total jobs completed in the period, what percentage were each of the main types. Speedometers I went over, this is just showing you again, what was your amount of jobs that hit the gross profit dollar target? What was the amount of jobs that hit the gross profit margin target? So we're saying half our jobs are hitting the margin and only 17% are hitting the dollar value. And this data here is based on this. Now these gauges are pretty tricky to do. This is pretty nice to have in a template already built for you. If you built these on your own, it's not easy to do. Just know that. The other part of the dashboard, we've got a monthly summary. Simply enter a start month and it'll show you on a high level across all jobs how many jobs were completed. What was your year-over-year percentage change? It shows 24 months. I figured that was a good point because you can look at, how you're doing year over year. If you want to see the last year and then the current year, you would put the start month of last year and you can see that data in the first 12 months. And then the next 12 months, you can see how you're varying from that. So we've got total jobs completed, total revenue, total costs, gross profit margin. And then we've also broke it down into average revenue, costs, and gross profit per job. And that'll populate as you add more data to the database. We also did some visuals for that here, so showing total jobs, total revenue, costs, and gross profit, and then average per job for revenue, cost, and gross profit over time. Okay, so that's this. Remember, you can download the spreadsheet in the link below in the link box. Let me look at the Google Sheet version. It has a couple additional things that are not in the Excel version. So number one, remember when you go over here, there's actually another 5 columns. This is to do pass fail, as well as to do the color coding, because conditional formatting is a little bit different in Google Sheets. So don't remove any of these. These are all using array formulas to populate, so you don't have to drag down formulas like in the Excel version. It'll just go in as you add data, these automatically populate. This pass fails for a new filter tab. So this, you can filter, you can look at a certain job ID, you can look at all job IDs, you can look at a certain job type or all job types, and then you could look at a certain selection of job type too. So you've got 3 criteria. Each of them has the option to select all, or you could do a slicer and just show only a certain job type with the other filters. This is a little bit cleaner than going on the database and trying to, which you can still do. You can still filter, filter this and whatever you want up here, but the filter tab here, it's a little bit of a cleaner way to do this. And we can't do that in Excel yet because the dynamic array functions aren't available for the regular Excel. Also, the dashboard, you can see the gauges are a little bit different. Google Sheets has this natively built in, so the charts are a little bit cleaner than in Excel, but they still work the same way. They'll adjust, here, if I put this down, you can see there, that's going to 100%. If I put this down, that's at 100, or if I put it back, those change automatically. Remember in this one, when you download the Excel sheet, the link to this, which is not going to be this link, but the link will be able to be clicked through, and you just hit File, make a copy, and you'll have your own Excel or Google Sheet version of this. Other than that, it works the same. You've just got your database. It's got conditional formatting. As you select different items, you just put in your data here in columns A to L, and everything else works the exact same. Start and end date, your targets here. All this data will auto update. Monthly summary works the same way. Visuals work the same way. And it's just got this extra filter. So, well, that's about all I got for you guys. Hopefully, this helps a lot of people. A lot of contractors keep track of their stats. It's a great way to just get a quick view of how your business has been doing, and how your quoted margins are doing, how your actual margins are doing, what's going on with the variance there, and you can easily slice it up into any time frame to view. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and take it easy.